Hello. So today we are going to be reading The Day of Ahmed's Secret, illustrated by Ted Lewin. And the authors are Florence Perry Hyde and Judith Hyde Gillen. It's a mother-daughter collaboration. So, The Day of Ahmed's Secret. Today, I have a secret, and all day long my secret will be like a friend to me. Tonight I will tell to my family, but now I have work to do in my city. So that's Ahmed. My donkey pulls the cart I ride on. I have many stops to make today. The streets are crowded. Everyone is going somewhere. Like me, everyone has something important to do, and they are all making such a noise of it. So from this picture, where do you think he lives? What predictions can you make about where he lives? Okay. All kinds of sounds, maybe every sound in the world, are tangled together. Trucks and donkeys, cars and camels, carts and buses, dogs and bells, shouts and calls and whistles and laughter all at once. And I have a sound too. The sound my cart makes. Crink, 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 crink. I know my sound helps to make the whole sound of the city, and it would not be the same without me. Loudest of all to me today is the silent sound of my secret, which I have not yet spoken. Over all the noise I hear my name. Ahmed! Ahmed! And my name becomes part of the city sound too. It is Hassan calling to me. He leans over the counter of his cart, and the bright colors of his cart mingle with the other colors of the city, the way the noises all go together and make the sound of the city. There's Hassan, and there's his cart, and here you see a donkey. And from the donkey you see here, and the camels and things mentioned, and the animals mentioned on the last page, where can you predict he lives? My special colors are part of the city too. Woven into the harness of my donkey are my own good luck ones, blue, green, and gold. Hassan hands me a dish of beans and noodles and says, "And how goes the day of my friend, the Bagat's boy?" As I eat, Hassan and I laugh together at his jokes and the stories. Always when I come home at sundown, I tell his stories to my family, but tonight will be different. I will have my secret to tell them. I have been saving it until tonight. Now someone else calls to Hassan's cart, and I wave goodbye. I must hurry now if I am going to get all of my work finished today. So there's Ahmed's cart and his donkey. The place I go is the home of an old woman. She has been waiting for me. "Ahmed, Ahmed," she calls, "are you bringing me the fuel for my stove?" The old woman is leaning out of her window. I look up and smile. I am proud that I can carry these big heavy bottles all the way up the steps to the floor where she lives. I am proud that I can do this work for my family. So what do you think his work is? He's got these bottles here, and it has fuel in them. I make more stops, and now I am hungry again. I look for the bright red and yellow cart where I can buy my lunch, and I find it in its usual place near the old building. I buy my beans and rice and sit in the shade of the old wall. My father has told me the wall is 1,000 years old, and even our great-great-grandfathers were not yet born yet when it was built. There are many buildings, many old walls like this one I lean against in this city. I close my eyes and have my quiet time, the time my father says I must have each day. If there are no quiet spaces in your head, it fills with noise. He has told me. He has shown me to find my way in the city, and he has taken me to each place where I now have to bring the heavy bottles. So, what cultural references can you make about the architectural structures of his city? And this wall here, we've got arches, beautiful artwork, and he said they were thousands of years old. In those days before I was strong enough to do this work alone, I would sit in the cart and watch my father lift and carry the bottles. One day I told him now I could do it by myself. He watched me try and take a heavy bottle from the cart. I could not do it, and I was ashamed. Hurry to grow strong, Ahmed, my father said on that day. For the first time I saw that his face had a tired look, like the faces of the old men in the city. Hurry to grow strong, he said again, but do not hurry to grow old. So what do you think that means? Hurry to grow strong, but don't hurry to grow old. Now that I lean against the old building, I think of the sea of sand that lies along our city. I have seen it stretching as far as the wind. My father says the wind carries sand all through the city to remind us that the desert is there. It is there beside us and is a part of us. He tells me that the great desert presses against our city on one side and the great river pushes against it on the other side. We live between them, my father said. Between our two friends, the river and the desert. All over the world people know of our city, he tells me. They speak its name, Cairo, and they say the name of our great river, the Nile. And the desert, what is that called? I ask. My father shrugs and smiles. The hot winds call our desert home. So from this picture, you finally figure out that Ahmed lives in Cairo, which is in Egypt, and those are the Pyramid of Giza. You can see there, which is visible from Cairo. He himself has never crossed the desert, but in the city there are caravans of camels and their riders who have crossed it many times, the way the boats cross and recross the river. I lean against the wall and I think of these things and of my secret, but I must finish my work before I go home. So what do you think these camels are used for? He said they go across the desert the same way the boats cross the river. So you think they could maybe be used for trading? Trade goods, get it across the desert? Transportation, maybe? They're going to go take trips? First, I try and knock the sand from my sandals. The sand is a part of each day, like the noise, like the colors of the city, like the things my father has said. On the way to the next stop, I see the boy who carries bread. From a window, a girl lowers a basket to him on a rope, and he puts some bread in the basket. Like me, he has so many stops to make each day, but he is not strong enough to do what I do. No one lowers a rope for me and my heavy loads. No rope could carry what I carry. You see? You see the bread basket and the woman? I hear the Rosewater man before I see him. He clicks 2 cups together as he walks along the street so people will hear him and come to him for a drink. I give him my smile. He does not give me his, but our eyes meet, and we know we are connected to the same day, to the same city. I do not buy his rosewater, but seeing him has reminded me how hot and thirsty I am. I take a drink from the bottle of water I always carry from my cart. So, from what you've heard about the sand and the wind and how hot it is, what do you think the climate is of the desert? There are more stops to make and more times and up narrow steps with my heavy load, and then I am back in my cart. Crink, crink, creak, crink, crink, crink. It is a long day, but I think the moment will never come when I may share my secret. But of course, I know that each day ends that every moment has its time to be. Finally, I am home. It is sundown, and it is time. It is the time of the day when you cannot tell a white thread from a black one. My mother has already lighted the lanterns. Everyone is waiting for me. Instead of telling them about my day, I say, "Look, I have something to show you. It is time to tell my secret." I take a deep breath. "Look," I say, "look, I can write my own name." And as you can see from the photo here, he's writing in Arabic, which is the dominant language in Egypt. I write my name over and over and over as they watch, and I think of my name now lasting longer than the sound of it, maybe even lasting, like the old buildings in the city, 1,000 years. So, as a last question, why do you think writing his name is such an accomplishment for him? Could it be because of the cultural or religious standpoints? And also, going back to the lanterns, why do you think they have to have lanterns? Do they maybe not have lights in their home? Do they not have electricity? But to wrap it up, to connect this to a standard, you could connect it to the 1C12 standard. Use literature to help people understand diverse cultures. So this book could be used to reference Egypt and Arabic cultures. You can also do an extension activity about the wall that was mentioned in the book. This one right here. And for that, you could go to touregypt.net to Cairo's ancient northern walls. And it's a website that just explains when they were built, why they were built, what happened to them, and just and divulges a little bit on that. And for other connecting literature, since this book is typically used for ages K through 3, to possibly do another book to connect it to 1 through 3rd grade, would be Egypt by Jessica Dean, and you can find that on Epic Books. And it's just a nonfiction little book about Egypt and the pyramids and gives some history about that. And then if you also wanted to go to 3rd to 5th grade, the book The Cure of the Cairo Cat, a Lottie Lipton adventure by Dan Metcalf, which is also in Epic Books. And it's just a chapter book about this family who moves to Cairo, and they're taking adventures all around. But other than that, this book, like I said before, it was a mother-daughter collaboration, would be generally used for grades K through 3. And it was ranked as a notable title about Arabs by American Library Association. So this book is just fantastic. It's one of my favorites, and I think it's a great book. So thank you.